Hi, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. And we're here after Packers dropped the Raiders 46-16. Pretty one-sided.
To the Packers being good or the Raiders just stink?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
The Raiders really do stink. Or they stunk yesterday.
Well, averaging 9 penalties is pretty bad.
Yeah. They're just not a smart team, as we'll show.
Yeah, that's true.
In the X's and O's that many people probably didn't see, but we'll point out a kind of egregious error they made.
As we always do.
Yeah. So let's start with the big news. First of all, Greg Jennings is down, and it's probably going to be, sounds like it'll be 2 to 3 weeks, MCL sprain. I would guess that they'd probably hold him out until the playoffs. Why even, if there's even a chance of him playing, you don't do it. You probably wouldn't practice him until the week before the playoff game.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I think for the most part, he's your #1 target, Pro Bowl receiver. And I mean, why even chance at these last 3 games? But now we're about to see how good Jordy Nelson really is. I mean, he's going to be the #1 target at wide receiver. Jermichael Finley is going to get more targets as well. Didn't catch a pass last week. And now we're going to find out are these guys a product of the system? Because if you're a defensive coordinator, you're just going to play cover 2 all day, or you can double 87 and 88 and Randall Cobb and James Jones and Driver. They got to beat you. Right. And you got to just at times stack to stop the run. So he's just a big integral part of that offense. So not having him is tough.
He is head and shoulders above the other receivers. I mean, let's face it. You have to account for him all the time.
Right.
Now, one interesting thing, or what I'm interested to see, is Randall Cobb in this situation. I think he might be the guy who ends up seeing the most increase in playing time, and that's because he plays in the slot a lot, which is where Jennings plays a lot. What do you think of him, and how important can they develop his role?
I think that he's one of the few guys, Tom, that lockout really hurt, because in the OTA you could have got down your special teams, the blocking schemes of punt returns and kick returns. Now you can learn the offense. But he had to do all of that at one time. That's why his progression is a little slow. Now, I think you're absolutely right about him being on the inside on 3rd down. He can cause some bad matchups inside if people are just going to just play cover 2 wide, and he's man-to-man on the inside against Oakland. He got open, in the intermediate area. He's quick. I mean, he's a good target, and for the most part, he has great hands. And I think for the most part, the Packers like what he brings to that offense. Speed. So I'm very excited to see him these next 3 games.
To me, I think it would be advantageous for McCarthy, too, to integrate him in sort of, not necessarily wildcat, but some kind of specialty thing to make people at least think about it in the playoffs.
Well, he was a quarterback at some time. He did throw a pass.
And a running back, too.
And he's played everything. So, they do have reverses, reverse passes, and things of that nature. You may see a lot of that when Flynn is in the game. But with Aaron Rodgers, may not see a lot of that. But I would love to see him get a couple carries at running back. I think he's their emergency running back. See that, the only healthy running back you have is, Ryan Grant. But at this particular point, I think that Randall Cobb can bring something this offense needs. They need a weapon that can catch the ball, turn around, and go 50 or 60 with it.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the running game. Pretty impressive performance by Ryan Grant. I got to say, it shocked the heck out of me. I just didn't see that coming. He's been, sluggish. He's not showed a lot of moves. And he really followed his blocking and made some hard cuts in this game. Do you think he's back, or do you think it's just a one-game?
I think he's back. I think if you look at his career when he's healthy, the last 8 games, he was just as good as any back in the league when he was healthy. Now, with that being said, who would think he's the only guy that you would have at running back that's available? I mean, you would think Starks would be the guy and Grant would be hurt. But Grant's been there. He showed some speed on his 47-yard touchdown, dipped in, dipped out, and took off, and most of those guys in that secondary, they're 4-4 guys, and he outran them. So I think getting that on film is good because now the play action opens up. And now the confidence of Ryan Grant these last 3 games to say, you know what, last year Starks made this big jump. If that's Ryan Grant, and then you can get Starks back at some point, now that running game, when the weather changes, is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, Starks might be back this week.
Yeah.
If not this week, probably the week after. He's still your number 1, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess you would say that, but
I mean, he's the more talented of the 2 guys now.
But you got to be healthy, though, Tom. I mean, he's always hurt.
That's true.
I mean, I like Starks. He's one of my favorite players, but can you count on that guy? I mean, I think that's for the most part with running backs. I think that's why people don't really value one. I mean, if you got a Jones, Drew, or a Ray Rice, I get that, but you got to have multiple backs nowadays to just rotate guys in and out of there. So Sane has a concussion, but if Starks is healthy, he's your number 1 guy. But if you can always go to a former number 1 like Ryan Grant, I said it says a lot for the Green Bay Packers that they have a lot of depth on this team. So the injuries to me wouldn't bother me as much as other guys playing.
Yeah. Speaking of depth, the Packers have played the last 2 games without their 2 inside linebackers.
Yeah.
And
that's such a bad thing.
They stick Robert Francois and DJ Smith in the lineup, and there they go. And Francois has got 3 interceptions in 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty incredible.
He could be your 6th or 7th tight end. He's so big and long.
he is, and we'll show exactly how his talents fit in this defense. But I mean, what would you do when A.J. Hawk comes back? The guy's played pretty good pass defense. Do you just give A.J. Hawk all his time back, or do you have to find some schemes where packages?
What you could do, DJ Williams is wearing a helmet with the communication. A.J. Hawk comes back, he would have it. So you can't really spot duty. I can't just trade helmets all the time.
Right.
Now, what you can do is play A.J. Hawk on the early downs and get him out of there on nickel and dime and let Francois, because Francois is more athletic and pass coverage in zones than A.J. Hawk. So, and then when Bishop comes back, if you put Francois and Bishop in there, but I think these guys have valuable experience. 51 and 49, you feel confident enough for these guys to play. But I think they've created a good problem, But don't be surprised, though, Tom, if they let A.J. Hawk just get 100% healthy and let these guys continue to play and let A.J. Hawk come back, when the playoff starts.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I wouldn't be surprised.
If you're going to play some zone defense and you need a linebacker to drop back into coverage, Francois is your guy. I mean,
he covers a lot of space.
A lot. He's tall, he's long, he's shown he's athletic, too.
And again, we'll show that in X's and O's, so don't miss that. Because a lot of people didn't know he was still on the roster, Tom. They just thought about, remember that guy was too close to the center?
Yeah, right.
And
That's his most famous play.
Right. That's that guy. But for the most part, they have people on this team that may even deserve to play, but they can't because the talent is so deep.
Yeah. One area that has to be of some concern to the coaches is protection. Aaron Rodgers took some pretty good hits in that game. The Raiders have a good pass rush, but from what we could see, there were a lot of breakdowns. And when he did get hit, there were, missed assignments. They can't allow that to happen once the playoffs start.
Rodgers has to understand that he has to get rid of the ball a little quicker. If you got Newhouse at guard, and then you bring Sherrod in, who's not ready to play.
Right.
But it's good of McCarthy to get these guys some experience the last 3-4 games. You don't want to be caught and say, what if? You got to have an answer when a guy's injured. You only have a few minutes to put a guy in there. Now, Evan Diedrich Smith is your backup center who can play guard, but at the same time, I was surprised that Newhouse was at guard, because at guard, you got to be kind of this mean, short, stocky guy that can really get in there and mix it up. Now, you will get sitting back at some point.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think they were just experimenting a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think Dietrich Smith has to back up both positions. They
Right.
don't have a backup center. So he is the backup center.
Right.
So I think they were getting him some work there.
Right.
They were moving Newhouse to right guard in case of an emergency,
Yeah.
in case Wells went down and Dietrich was at
But
center.
Tom, would you really do that with Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback?
Yeah,
I
they
would
probably
only-
should have waited.
Wait
Well, they
till
did
Flynn-
wait till Flynn got in for not with Sherrod. Sherrod was
Right,
the only
right.
change they made
Right.
while Rodgers was in the game.
Yeah, that's the only time
That
I
was
would
kind
do
of
it. Yeah.
scary too.
Yeah,
you know,
just
for
throw
him.
him out there with Flynn, because Flynn, I mean, we don't want him to get hurt. But, I think it's good to get those guys valuable experience.
Okay, and just to quickly, Chad Clifton may start practicing next week.
Mm-hmm.
That would give him, maybe 2 weeks to get ready. Do you
Right.
start him in the playoffs, or you keep going with Newhouse?
I'm concerned about his lower back, because anybody have hamstring problems, it goes to your glute, and then goes to your lower back, then the flexibility. Remember, he's such a big guy. Then I'm worried about his conditioning. He may need a couple weeks just for conditioning and getting ready.
Yeah.
But if he's ready to play, I'm playing Clifton.
I mean, that guy,
Yeah.
rolls out of bed blocking, as
Yeah.
a pass blocker. He
Right.
can pass block in his sleep.
And that's what he does. And if you're going to throw the ball, 35 times or 30 times, you want to have him in there. But think about it. You have an ace in the hole to Sam Newhouse, who at any time can step in.
Yeah.
It makes you feel better about your depth. So the experiment of moving the guys around, I get it, but I wouldn't do it when Aaron Rodgers is in there.
Okay. Lastly, Packers are playing the Chiefs, and the Chiefs fired their coach. One
Yeah.
of two teams to fire their coach this week. Did that surprise you?
It
Really?
did. It did surprise me, but I will say that the Chiefs are so bad on offense, they felt like a new direction is now. Romeo Cornell, who's the defensive coordinator, takes over. Now, his defense has been playing very well. They're going to blitz the Green Bay Packers. So with that being said, if they finish out these last 3 games on top, who knows, he may get a hard look at being a head coach once again, because he was a head coach in Cleveland.
Okay, 3 openings, 3 new head coaches.
Yeah.
What if one of them gave you a call and said, "Hey, I'd like to interview for
Hey,
for
I love you. I love Mike Davis, but I gotta go. Next year, that's what I want. I want to be with an organization that I feel like I can help, and especially the fact of developing young talent. I really want to do that. It's one of my biggest dreams right now. So, and it's going to be more openings, and maybe one down in Jacksonville where I'm from too. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, well, we'll just call you on Skype and we can do it.
Yeah,
that
there you
way.
go.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey, I got a surprise for you.
Oh, surprise!
Well, I couldn't get the
surprises.
turkey, but I do have my new cookbook for you and Bill.
Oh.
And don't be selling it now.
I know. No,
But
no.
you can you can purchase the book at any Syndics Ballester owned and operated. But for the most part, you have to call the number, or you can go to my website, lbf36.org, 262-512-9305. And if you order it by December 20th, you will get it by Christmas, I promise. And it's $25. The money goes to my foundation. So, and you can take this.
Are you
and
actually
give
going to give it to me, or are
Well,
you
I'm
just
giving it-
saying you're giving it
I'm
to
giving
me, and
it-
then after the camera goes off, I have to give it back?
I'm giving it to you to give to somebody else.
Oh, okay.
And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
You make sure she gets it
Okay.
now. So, this is brought to you by SyndicsMarket.com, Syndics Ballester owned and operated, and WJ Kuhn in Milwaukee, Oak Creek. So thank you very much.
And don't forget about X's and O's.